The forecasts today confirm that the choices this government have made are the right ones. Stability in our public finances, interest rates and inflation falling, living standards rising, more children lifted out of poverty, more appointments in our NHS, more investment in our infrastructure, a growing economy and more money in the pockets of working people. Mr. Speaker, these are the right choices, this is the right plan, and I commend this statement to the House.
Shadow Chancellor Mel Stride.
Mr. Speaker, is that it? What utter complacency. A Chancellor in denial. She speaks of stability. What planet is the Right Honourable Lady on? She has lurched from putting up taxes to destroying growth, to destroying headroom, to coming back to putting up more taxes, more growth destroyed. Round and round we go, like a fiscal twister ripping up everything in its path. And Mr. Speaker,
Sorry. I will hear the Shadow Chancellor, because people need to recognise there's two sides. Let's hear the other side now.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. They just don't like the truth, Mr. Speaker. That's the truth of it. As our economy bleeds out, what does the Right Honourable Lady do? She comes to this House with nothing to say and with no plan. Unless, of course, doing nothing is a cunning plan to avoid those U-turns further down the line. She is weak, Mr. Speaker. She has even stripped the OBR of its ability to assess whether she is meeting her fiscal targets. So, Mr. Speaker, let it be remembered that at this time in this chamber, this weak and chaotic government gave up on the British people. She has nothing to say to us today. This is not a spring statement. This is not a spring statement, Mr. Speaker. It is...
Order. Mr. Gardner, I expect better. We have to listen to you on a Thursday night. I don't need to hear you now, Mel Stride.
No, they don't like it, Mr. Speaker. They don't like the truth. This is not a spring statement, Mr. Speaker. It is a surrender statement. Yes. The Chancellor has the temerity to suggest that she is creating the conditions for renewed growth. She is rather like the dodgy estate agent standing in the crumbling building with the roof gone, the windows gone, with the floor gone, and saying, just think of the potential. But that potential, Mr. Speaker, has been undermined by the terrible state of our public finances. When it comes to the deficit, she knows, the Right Honourable Lady knows, when it comes to borrowing, that borrowing this year is almost double that which was forecast at the time of the general election. She knows that the forecasts are predicated on the numbers she has given to the OBR that they have to accept, including squeezing spending at the end of the Parliament, raising taxes, raising energy bills at the same time. We know, Mr. Speaker, we know that that is unrealistic. And the reason that we know it, Mr. Speaker, is that she and the Prime Minister have no backbone when it comes to taking difficult decisions. Before the budget, Mr. Speaker, winter fuel payment, U-turn. Welfare reform, U-turn. Two-child benefit cap, U-turn. And in the short period of time after the budget, Mr. Speaker, farm tax, U-turn. Family business tax, U-turn. Public houses, U-turn. And on the deficit, when she rises again, could she tell the House how she's going to fill that black hole of £6 billion around this end budget? And she mentions, quite rightly, the Iran war and the greater threats that our country faces. Could she explain in a moment how she is going to fund what we have been urging her to do, to go to 3% of GDP on defence by the end of this Parliament? How will she fund that?
Order, order, order. Seriously, we need to hear this. If you don't... I can help you if you don't want to.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. She mentions the cost of borrowing and says it is coming down. Does she not know that the cost of borrowing in this country has been the highest in the G7, higher even?
Somebody needs to switch the phone off. It is not acceptable.
Even higher than Greece. Indeed, Mr. Speaker. Indeed, Mr. Speaker. If debt were a government department, it would be the third largest spending department in Whitehall. Not money going on the people's priorities, but simply being flushed down the drain. She makes great store of the latest forecasts on debt, saying that it is coming down compared to the forecast back in the autumn. But if you strip away her dodgy definition of debt, it will be going up in just about every year of that forecast. Yet, Mr. Speaker, she has the audacity to praise her own performance. She points to growth, but does she not know that the Bank of England only last month downgraded growth for both this year and next year? She specifically, a moment ago, said that this government had beaten the forecast for growth from last year. The forecast at the beginning of last year was for 2% growth. The growth outcome at the end of last year was 1.3%, Mr. Speaker. By my mathematics, that is not an improvement. It should be a considerable concern to the entire House that the Right Honourable Lady clearly thinks that it is. She points to interest rates coming down, but does she not know that her ruinously inflationary policies have seen interest rates higher for longer, meaning more expensive mortgages for hundreds of thousands of people across our country? And unemployment, well, Mr. Speaker, she was slightly coy about unemployment because, of course, what we know is it now stands at a 5-year high. And under every single Labour government in history, unemployment has risen, and this government is no exception. On tax, the Right Honourable Lady is fond of saying that she is simply asking people to pay a little more tax. Well, I don't remember, Mr. Speaker, the taxman phoning me up and asking me if I'd awfully mind paying a little more tax. And what does it mean? What does it mean? It means workers struggling. It means employers laying off staff. It means tens of thousands of the most talented people in our country going to other places where they believe the opportunities are greater. That's what a little more tax means, Mr. Speaker. And what has that tax done? It has destroyed, damaged deeply entire sectors of our economy. Hospitality, almost 100,000 job losses since this government came to office, particularly impacting our youngest people. Youth unemployment, the highest in Europe, the first time for a quarter of a century. Young people, their dreams, their aspirations, their hopes, all those bright young faces smashed on the altar of her incompetence. What is her message to young people today? Her message today has been that her so-called plan is working. But what is the reality? Inflation up, borrowing up, spending up, tax up, welfare up, unemployment up. All of this, Mr. Speaker, speaks to the weakness and chaos of this government. Is it any wonder that her so-called plan is not working? We have amongst the highest energy costs in the world, and yet she doubles down on net zero. And given where we are, the first thing that the Right Honourable Lady should do is get rid of those taxes on North Sea oil and allow us to start exploiting those opportunities. We have a welfare bill that's spiralling ever upwards. But what does she do? She removes the two-child benefit cap. And we have taxes. And we have taxes heading to the highest level in our history because of her choices, destroying the futures of men, women and children right up and down our country. No contrition, no apology, no plan to do anything about it. But it does not have to be this way, Mr. Speaker. At our conference, we set out how we can control public spending. £47 billion worth of savings, especially on the welfare bill. Some £23 billion in savings, because we are a party that believes in work rather than benefits. We are a party that will do something about it. We are the party of work. They are the party of Benefit Street. We will bring taxes down to kickstart the economy, abolish stamp duty, scrap business rates for businesses on our high streets, a £5,000 tax cut for our young people, a cheap power plan. We will fix student loans. We will invest in apprenticeship. And through our golden rule, Mr. Speaker, we will get on top of the deficit. And by doing that, we will grow the economy. That's our plan. What is her plan? The truth, Mr. Speaker, is that she has no plan, or as her Health Secretary said, there is no growth strategy at all. And even if she did have a plan, she would be too weak to deliver it. The psychodramas swirling around Number 10, the almost daily scandals visiting the door of the Prime Minister, the sight of our once person at the highest level within the diplomatic service being carted away in a car by the police, and backbenchers calling the shots. The Chancellor's credibility has gone. The Prime Minister's Chief of Staff has gone. His Cabinet Secretary has gone. But somehow the Chancellor hangs on. But through the chaotic fog, Mr. Speaker, the drums are drawing ever closer. The British people deserve so much better. So for the hard-working people in our country crushed by taxes, by those denied employment, by the farmers and the family business owners who have suffered in fear for too long, for every hollowed-out high street, for every young person robbed of their future, for every elderly person struggling to survive, for the generations yet to come, we say go.
Chancellor of the Exchequer.
Thank you. Well, I know that the OBR didn't publish the forecast until I sat down, but I still think he could have done a little bit better than that. To be honest, I was hoping that the Leader of the Opposition was going to respond today, and after that performance, I expect she does too. Now, Mr. Speaker, don't worry, I've got more. Mr. Speaker, the Right Honourable Gentleman said that they set out their economic policy at their conference a few weeks ago. Well, they had 14 years to set out their economic policy, and it's because of their economic policy that they're now sitting on those benches. Now, Mr. Speaker, today's performance is yet another reminder of how irrelevant the Conservative Party now is. And I hate to break it to the Shadow Chancellor, but people stopped listening to them a long while ago. And you can see why. Because whether it is in office or in opposition, the Right Honourable Gentleman's Party and his leader have been wrong about the economy time and time again. They opposed economic responsibility and backed Liz Truss. Wrong. They opposed closer ties to Europe and backed Brexit. Wrong. They oppose cuts in child poverty and want to repeat austerity. Wrong values, wrong economics. They are just plain wrong. After last year's budget, his leader predicted with characteristic foresight that borrowing would increase every year. She was wrong. Borrowing is now coming down faster. Faster than under the Tories. Well, that's not difficult because it went up. Faster than forecast in the autumn, and faster than in any other G7 economy. Last year, the Leader of the Opposition told us that energy bills would rise. She was wrong. They're coming down by £117 next month. And she told us that there would be no more Tory defections to reform. How's that one going? Now, let me return to the substance of his remarks, although I've had to reduce this section somewhat. The Shadow Chancellor mentioned student loans, but he neglected to mention that he was in the party that tripled university tuition fees, froze thresholds and oversaw higher interest rates, which led to the problems we are in today. Now, on special educational needs, they left a system in utter crisis, as every parent, every child and every school will tell you. So we'll take no lessons from them. But in terms of where the money is coming from, it's sat out today in the documents. But of course, the Shadow Chancellor doesn't know that because he didn't even bother listening to my statement. Now, the Shadow Chancellor mentioned defence, but he neglected to mention that it was his government that left office without any plan to fund their pledge to spend 2.5% of GDP on defence. And it is this government, and with me as Chancellor, that we are delivering the biggest increase in defence spending since the Cold War. Now, the Shadow Chancellor mentioned a welfare bill, and on this one, I've got to say it is a little bit rich, because he neglected to mention that the welfare bill rose twice as fast in the last Parliament, and that he was Secretary of State for Work and Pensions. Mr. Speaker, they broke the welfare system, and it is this government that is fixing it. Now, the Shadow Chancellor mentioned youth unemployment. And as I said, there is more that needs to be done. After they increased the number of young people not in education, employment or trading by 113,000 and slashed the number of young people starting apprenticeships by 40%. So, Mr. Speaker, we'll take no lessons from the party opposites. They're the arsonists, not the fire brigade. And if they can't be honest about the mess they've made, no wonder they can't recognise that we are fixing it. Today's forecast shows that debt is down, borrowing is down, inflation is down, and interest rates are down from 5.25%, where they left them, to 3.75% today. And investment, living standards and growth, they are all up. Let me break it to him and to his leader. There's no blank page for the Tory party, no year zero. They gave us chaos and instability. Labour is fixing it. They gave us austerity. Labour is investing in Britain. They gave us 14 years of barely managed decline, and we are reversing it. Now, we know that if they ever get the chance, they'll do all of the same again. More chaos, more kids in poverty, more and deeper cuts. It would be terrifying if there was any prospect at all that they would ever win an election again. Now, the leader of the opposition can keep turning up every week, but it's a total waste of time. Their party is the past and not the future. And I don't know what is more pathetic. The culprits who jumped ship and joined Reform and its Russian mates, or the culprits who stayed in the Conservative Party and pretended that the last 14 years never happened. Either way, the choice is clear. Investment with Labour or austerity with the Conservatives. Stability with Labour or more chaos with the Conservatives. Wrong leader, wrong choices, wrong plan. Only Labour has the right plan for our economy and for our country.
Chair of the Select Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I have to say, the sound and fury from the opposite, the Shadow Chancellor, is extraordinary, when it was his government that ran this country and citizens into chaos with the interest rate increases and inflation increases under the Truss mini budget. I welcome today's forecast, partly, Mr. Speaker, because there's been so little speculation along the way, which I'm sure the Chancellor, the markets and the public and businesses welcome. That's the stability and confidence that we need to see. The Chancellor laid out her 3 choices to promote growth, and she will be appearing in front of the Select Committee next week, where we hope to probe her further. But in the meantime, can she tell us which of those 3 areas is she most excited about to grow the British economy?
Chancellor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And can I thank my honourable friend for that question? I think the biggest change that we can make is ensuring that growth takes place in all parts of our country, rather than just a few people in a few parts of Britain. And the changes to economic geography that we started by changing the Green Book to give every part of our country the fair chance to get the investment and opportunity that they deserve means that growth will benefit everybody, not just a small few.
Daisy Cooper, Liberal Democrat spokesperson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The country is paying the price for two anti-growth Labour budgets. Growth has flatlined. Youth unemployment is up, and the cost of living crisis grinds on, pushing people and businesses to the brink. So we are pleading with the Chancellor, please, for the sake of our country, put a laser-like focus on getting a better trade and defence deal with Europe so we can protect our country, get Britain growing again and end the cost of living crisis. The Chancellor says that she will be making an announcement about trade relationships in a couple of weeks, but this government is 18 months in already. The Chancellor could have used today's spring statement to announce the government's intention to negotiate a new UK-EU customs union to kickstart growth, cut red tape for business and build ties with our reliable allies in the face of Trump's chaos. Why didn't she? Mr. Speaker, the spring statement comes at a critical time for our national and economic security. OBR projections will soon be out of date. Trump's illegal actions in Iran this weekend will be felt in people's pockets right here in Britain, with the cost of fuel and food set to rise. The Chancellor could have used today's spring statement to scrap the fuel duty hike, which is due this September. Why didn't she? Mr. Speaker, young people are angry and fed up. The next generation of young people could always expect that they would have a better life than the generation before. But that promise for today's young people has been ripped away. Almost 1 million young people, the highest in more than 10 years, are now unemployed. We are facing a youth unemployment crisis. Mr. Speaker, the Chancellor's youth guarantee is simply a sticking plaster for the damage that has been done by the jobs tax. The Chancellor could have used today's spring statement to reverse the jobs tax changes that have undermined job opportunities for young people and part-time workers. Why didn't she? Mr. Speaker, graduates are being ripped off. They've studied hard. Mr. Speaker, graduates are being ripped off.
Yes, that's right. She's right.
They have studied hard. They have studied hard. They have done everything they were told to do. But they are facing eye-watering repayment costs and they are struggling to get on in life. Mr. Speaker, on this issue, it is a plague on all our houses. Partisan point scoring does no favours to those young people. We have set out what we would do. The Chancellor could have used today's spring statement to end the repayment threshold freeze, putting £100 back in graduates' pockets in the first year, rising to £210 in the third. Why didn't she?
Yeah, absolutely right.
And Mr. Speaker, with great instability and conflict around the world and a move away from the rules-based system to great power politics, we must look urgently at building our national energy, defence and food security. And in so doing, we can and must turn the necessity of building national resilience into strategic opportunities for economic growth. We welcome the fact that the government has done a deal for helicopters with Leonardo as a result of the calls from these Liberal Democrat benches, especially honourable members from the South West who have raised this issue week in, week out. But the Chancellor could have used today's spring statement to launch a new defence bonds programme as part of a plan to spend 3% of GDP on defence by 2030. Why didn't she? And Mr. Speaker, finally, to come full circle, as I said, the country has paid the price for two anti-growth Labour budgets, and the OBR today is clear. The downgrade in 2026 in growth is bigger than the upgrade in the next 2 years combined. We have got to stop the short-term cycle of short-term Treasury tax grabs over long-term growth. Mr. Speaker, our United Kingdom is an amazing country and has enormous potential, but we cannot take this for granted. We must accept that we are stuck in a rut, stuck in a doom loop of low economic growth, and that is a big problem. I urge the Chancellor to take these measures that I have outlined to protect our country, to get Britain growing again and to end the cost of living crisis.
Chancellor of the Exchequer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The honourable member gives less an economic programme and more a wish list of things that she would like to see, without any means at all of paying for them. She seems oblivious also to the things that governments are doing. She says that we should have a closer relationship with Europe. I agree. I said it in my speech. But she omits to mention that that is exactly what the government are doing. We have taken action, as the honourable lady knows, with an SPS deal to back British agriculture and on Erasmus. And it is this Labour government which is working with our EU neighbours to tackle illegal gangs and to improve our security. The honourable member calls for a big cut in taxes. But VAT, at 20% as the standard rate, is the rate that her party introduced when they were part of the coalition agreement. It has been ever since that they were in that coalition. We've provided £4.3 billion of support in business rates and further support for pubs and live music venues. If they want to deliver on this enormous unfunded promise, perhaps she'd like to tell us which public services the Liberal Democrats would like to cut this time. I mean, they cut enough public services when they had a chance and they were in office, but they're too scared to tell us which ones they would do today. Is it the NHS? Is it schools? Is it investment in our regional transport infrastructure? Who knows, because she won't tell us. And it is quite extraordinary. To hear the Liberal Democrats have the nerve to raise student financing. When they trebled tuition fees when they were in government and created the Plan 2 scheme. In fact, it was a Liberal Democrat Secretary of State who oversaw that policy. And the leader of the Liberal Democrats was in that cabinet meeting when they signed off that decision. So we'll take no lectures from them about how to support our young people. Now, the honourable lady says that they've set out what they would do on student finance. Is that a bit like what you did in 2010 when you set out what you were going to do on student finance? Because I remember in 2010, what was it? What were they going to do with tuition fees? That was it. They were going to abolish tuition fees. But that's not what they did, is it? What did they do? Oh, they tripled them. So why should we believe a word that the honourable lady says now on student finance? So some of us haven't forgotten that they teamed up with the Tories to cut our police, cut local government and cut our armed forces spending too. And, Mr. Speaker, we are dealing with the consequences. That is why we are investing in our public services, to fix the damage that they did with the Conservatives. What have they been doing? Opposing our investment in the NHS, because that is what it means when you say you want to reverse the tax changes that we've brought in. Because the only reason we've got £29 billion more a year to spend in the NHS is because of the tax changes that we made. You can't have one without the other. The Liberal Democrats need to understand that. They're opposing our plans to build more homes. They're opposing our plans to make work pay. They opposed VAT on private schools to help the 93% of kids in our state schools. Mr. Speaker, they are simply not serious.